Today's tutorial is for my week 4 in my Frugal Friday series here in January. Everyone seems to be enjoying these Frugal Fridays, and so I do plan on continuing them at least for the time being. If I see that people aren't interested anymore or kind of bored of them, I will stop. For this version today, we are sewing up the Charli. This is a crossbody style bag, and it is from the designer Lorelei Jayne. I will have the information in my description as how you get this free pattern, but you do have to sign up for her emails and then you get a copy of this pattern. This pattern's really cute and it's going to come together really simply, but it has a unique look to it and it's not just a basic bag. It has a couple of features I think are really cool. I'm going to take it up a couple notches by using a custom print. This is from Jayne's Fabrics. And if you watch all my videos, I actually have already made a video with this print. So I'm using this fabric for a second time in a video. So my fabric is from Jayne's Fabrics. This zipper tape I believe is from So Majestic. My webbing is from the Emporium. And this floral print is from Oh So Lovely. All of my prints are a cotton canvas. All I have on these exterior prints is a medium weight interfacing like a SF101. But this pattern is unique in that you do add a layer of fleece to your lining pieces. I have done this before in other patterns, but I've never seen a designer actually say to do it. And I don't know if you've ever done it, but I love to add a more stable interfacing to the lining because I feel like it's a little bit less of a risk of you getting a wrinkling. Sometimes if I interface foam or fleece to an exterior, when I'm birthing the bag, I have some wrinkling. If it's on the lining, it's not as big of a deal. I'm not going to take a lot of time going over the pieces. I'm going to go real quick over what I've prepped so far. I did choose to use some rivets on some of my hardware. Since this bag is simple, since it's a free pattern, I thought, hey, let's fancy it up a little bit, add some rivets to make things look a little bit better. So I have two connectors for my strap. This is a 1-inch rectangle ring. I do have two rivets there. I do have a slider bar on my strap as well as rivets there. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take out the lining and exterior pieces and they're going to go together the same way. You can see that my lining and my exterior pieces are not the same shape, but they're sewn together the same way. So I'm going to show you how I do them, but then you're going to repeat it for the other set of the exterior pieces as well as the lining pieces. I orientate them the way I want them to go, and then I'm going to place them right sides together. I'm then going to sew down the straight edge using the seam allowance given in the pattern. After I have that seam sewn, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to finger press it open. You can, of course, take it to the ironing board. And then I'm going to top stitch down both sides of that seam. So we're butterflying the seam, and then we're going to top stitch an 1/8 of an inch away on both sides just for a decorative feature and just to make this bag look a little fancier. Here's how this piece looks from the front. And here's how it looks from the back. You're going to repeat those same steps for that back exterior piece, also the lining pieces as well. I'm going to go off camera and do those pieces and I'll come back and show them all to you. So I have those lining and exterior pieces sewn together. For my lining pieces, I'm going to take these two and I'm going to set them aside and I'm going to work on them a little bit more in a minute. For my exterior pieces though, I want to add the top part to them. The top part has a straight edge on the bottom, but your top has like a slight swoop to it. This is the top. The straight edge is the bottom. On one of these pieces, we are going to add a zipper pocket. Technically, you could add the zipper pocket to both. I'm not going to add it to both. On the other one, I'm going to add a tag onto mine. I'm actually leaning towards the tag being the front and the zipper pocket being on the back. I do want to sew my tag on. I just have some glue on it right now to kind of hold it in place, but I'm going to stitch around my tag. I have the tag sewn on the first top piece. I think this is maybe an A, I'm not for sure, piece A. But I have the tag sewn on one, the other one will get a zipper. Full disclosure, whenever I had these sewn together, they were a little too big. So what I did was I trimmed down the sides to match the lining piece a little bit more, which made them match perfectly with this top piece. So if yours are a little bit bigger than your top piece, just check the pattern piece and trim everything down. Not a big deal there. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to center these pieces onto each other. I think I want this top piece going with this piece, and so this is the way to look. This is the orientation of how to look when it's done. I flip it down, and then I'm just going to sew this straight edge. So I'm just back stitching and just sewing with the full seam allowance. And I think I'm going to butterfly this seam as well and sew on both sides of it. I don't know if the pattern tells us to or not, but it won't matter either way. If you want to just sew one row of top stitching, you can, but I think I'm going to do two. So that means I'm going to butterfly this seam open and sew down both sides of the seam. Just with 1/8 of an inch, just like how we did this seam down here in the bottom. So this is how it looks, super cute, I love that. Now I'm going to do the same thing to attach that top piece to the other exterior piece, and then when I come back I'll show you that and we'll add the zipper pocket. So now I have both of the tops sewn onto these bottom pieces. It's time to add that zip pocket onto this piece, and so what I'm going to do is pull out the lining. That is that really long piece, and you can see I drew the box on there. What I did, instead of using the pattern piece, because I think it is meant for a size 3 zipper, I wanted mine a little bit larger because I'm using a number 5 zipper. I used my zipper template that I have. Just as a note, if you want to use a number 5 zipper with the pattern piece, just make for sure it'll fit before you sew all around it and cut everything open. You're going to place the pocket lining right sides together with this exterior piece. The pattern tells you how far down to place this pocket piece, and then you're going to center it from left to right. At that point, then you're just going to sew all around that box. I'm sewing directly on that line, and I'm going to back stitch when I start and stop. After I have it sewn together, then I will cut a slit in the opening and then cut from one side to the other and push the lining through. You will see me do all those steps. After I have the lining pushed through, then I will go over to the iron and iron it flat just to make for sure it's laying really nice so that I could add the zipper. So now that I have the zipper box pressed open and everything's laying flat, I go ahead and pull out that zipper. I already have my zipper pull on it. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to center it so that the teeth are in the middle of the box, and I'm going to top stitch 1/8 of an inch all the way around. I always cut the zipper tape a little bit longer than the box. That way I don't have to worry about it getting too short and possibly coming unraveled. It just makes it easier for me. You could use pins or clips, glue, whatever you want at this step, or you could just do like I do if you wanted and just sew it without anything on there. The reason why I like to do it this way is, one, it saves a little bit of time in my opinion because I don't have to fool with adding anything. And two, I can just shift it around as I'm sewing it, and so I feel like it does pretty well this way. Whatever works best for you though, of course. Once you have that zipper sewn into place, go ahead and flip it over and then just pull up that bottom to meet the top. I'm going to start sewing on one side and go up, pivot over, and come back down the other side. This means that I'll leave the opening to turn this back in the bottom of the lining. If you don't like it, you could open up your zipper pocket and leave an opening there. It wouldn't be too big of a deal to make that adjustment. It's just that I don't really care to leave the opening in the lining of the bag. It makes it easier for me to turn, to be honest. So what I'm going to do is I like to sew mine as close as I can to the zipper opening, so I'll actually trim off this extra here. You don't have to, it's just what I do. Okay, so I'm going to trim up all this extra on my pocket. So now I'm going to pull out both of my exteriors and I'm going to add these connectors. You'll use the pattern measurements for where to place these. The main thing I want to do is I want to make for sure that I come in enough so that this will not be caught in the seam allowance. I like to even make for sure that my hardware won't be caught in the seam allowance, so I don't want to have to worry about hitting it. I'm going to place these on both of the same side of the front and the back. So both will be on the left side for me. I'll leave a little bit hanging on the top. And the reason I do this is so that whenever they are sewn together, you can see that it'll be a perfect crossbody then, because they'll end up on opposite sides. Now at this point, my exterior pieces are done, so I'm going to place them right sides together. I'm going to start by matching up this seam here at the bottom, and I'm just going to clip all the way around, and then I can sew down the sides and across the bottom with these two pieces. So I'm going to start here at one side. I'm going to use the seam allowance given in the pattern. Back stitch when I start and stop. If you're someone who likes having a snap closure on your bag, you could add a snap here. It doesn't bother me to just have this open, but just keep in mind you could do a snap. You could do a recessed zipper too. Just have to kind of be mindful of the bulk there at the top. So I'm done with the exterior, but I need to work a little bit more on my lining. I'm going to make this little slip pocket. I think the pattern calls it a phone pocket. What I'm going to do is I want to sew it around all four sides, but I'm going to leave an opening at the bottom, just a few inches wide, so that I can turn this right sides out. So I sewed those two pieces right sides together. Just going to make a simple slip pocket. I'm trimming up the corners here. I have a little bit of overhang. I'm going to trim that up too. So now that I have that pressed right sides out, I'm just going to tuck in the raw edges there at the top. And I think I'm going to go ahead and top stitch that and let that be the top instead of the bottom. I tend to like to do this a little bit more because it allows me to go ahead and take care of that closing and make sure it doesn't shift any instead of whenever I'm attaching it to the lining. And I feel like there's just more of a chance of it shifting then. Pull out one of those lining pieces and lay your slip pocket onto that. I should have probably done a better job of rolling out those seams there at the bottom. It's okay, I can roll them out now and just kind of finger press them a little bit better. Center that pocket on there and then place it from the top according to the pattern measurements. If you don't feel like measuring, it's not too big of a deal as long as you don't get it too close to the top or the bottom. Let's go ahead and sew down the sides and the bottom to attach this pocket to the lining piece. Go ahead and pull out your other lining piece, place it right sides together, match up those seams, and then let's do the same thing we did with the exterior, sewing around, but this time we're going to leave that opening in the bottom unless you chose to leave an opening in the zipper pocket. As you can see, I forgot to leave that opening. Not a problem. Whenever I forget to leave the opening, I just come back in here and I do a few back stitches on either side of where I would have had the opening. Kind of lock that in, and then I will seam rip a little opening there. Even if I wouldn't have a back stitch here, it still would have been fine because I'm going to sew over this seam anyway whenever I'm closing it up, so not a big deal. I'm going to turn my lining right sides out, and then I'm just going to push it down into my exterior. We'll match up the seams, and then we will sew all across that top to connect the two. Okay, so I have the lining inside the exterior. I just matched up the 4 seams, so the quarter marks. I'm not too worried about doing anything else. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start sewing all around. I'll pull back and be sewing from the wrong side of my lining. Just back stitch when I start and stop and go all the way around this in a circle. Now I'm just going to reach and turn this bag through the opening in the lining. I'm feeling a slight bit lazy. I'm going to go ahead and close up this seam. Usually I'll wait until the end after I top stitch, but I feel like I can roll the seams decently enough on this bag where it's not a vinyl and just cotton woven that I can get a decent top stitch with just rolling the seams. So I'm going to go ahead and close up the opening here. So I just tucked in the raw edges and I'm going to top stitch across this bottom edge to close everything up. Okay, so I have the opening and the lining closed up. So now what I'm going to do is compress all these seams, roll them flat. I'm looking down into the exterior because that's the way I'm going to top stitch. I'm going to be top stitching on the exterior just to make sure it looks decently there. But first I'm going to take the time to roll these seams out. So now that I have the seams rolled out, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go all around with top stitching. I am kind of scared that I'm going to run out of bobbin because I did not start this project with a full bobbin. We'll see how it goes. I'm going to top stitch just 1/8 of an inch away. My bag definitely needs a good press, but it is looking so cute. I think this is a great gift for a little girl. It's just something simple and cute. You could use some pretty fabrics and make her a great birthday gift. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach my strap. My camera died when I was trying to show the strap, so I'm just going to go over it one more time really quickly. So I had it fed through the adjustable bar on this side, and then I took that piece and fed it through back over top of the adjustable bar and then back to this other rectangular ring. And then I just folded that edge under, and I'll put 2 rivets here, or of course you could sew. That's what gives me this just nice little adjustable bar strap. Make sure that you don't have it twisted any. So that's all I have that. I do have my clips on just to kind of compress everything out. Probably will leave them on overnight, but let's take them off just to look at this. I'll make sure my angle looks good. And let's talk about this adorable free pattern. This is the Charli bag. This is from Lorelei Jayne. This fabric is from Jen's Fabric. My strap is from the Emporium. Inside, you can see I have a slip pocket in here. It's opened really nice. This print's from Oh So Lovely. I have a zipper pocket on the back. This pattern actually has everything you need. This is a great skill builder for free. So you have a lot of great options here. I think this would be great for gifts for little girls, for teenagers, for young teens. Just a really fun pattern. I like that it's open in the top. If you wanted, you could add a magnetic snap. If you did, I'd be careful about the seam because you wouldn't want to put like a snap in the middle of the seam. I'd put it on the sides of it. But honestly, I don't think it needs one personally. I think this would be a great dog walking bag because you could put everything you need in there and it's just hands-free to grab what you need in a hurry, like a dog treat or one of your dog waste bags, everything. Water bottle fit in there, plenty of room. Super cute, love this pattern. Going to have all the information in my description as always. And thanks again for watching another one of these Frugal Friday videos. I'm really enjoying doing this series and I'm finding so many more free patterns that I didn't even know existed. And I just like the fact that we can sew something up, use things we already have in our sewing room. I'm not buying anything new right now, and still make beautiful things for me to use, to give as gifts, for me to sell at my craft shows. Thanks so much for watching another tutorial of mine, and I hope you have an amazing day today.